Hi, I'm Dr. Liz Snyder.
And I'm Dr. Julie Galvin. We are from the Galvin Growth Group, and we are towards the end of our 8-part series on our book called Untangled by Dr. Lisa Damour that covers the 7 developmental stages of adolescence that girls go through. And our hope is to support them so they successfully navigate these stages and enter young adulthood in the best possible position that they can. This chapter, which is called Entering the Romantic World, covers the complexities of the different stages of dating and romance that they are going to go through between kind of early adolescence to late adolescence, and the complexities that they encounter as they go through this in our culture. She does a wonderful job showing us as parents how we can support them as they go through these stages. And the terms that she uses are asking, supporting, and encouraging. And it's just a great way to simplify and help us remember what we can be doing as we go through day by day with our girls and all these different things that they encounter as adolescents. Dr. Snyder, what did you think about this chapter, and what would you like to kind of highlight in terms of things that Dr. Damour covers?
Yeah, I love that you just brought up those kind of the 3, steps to working with your daughter, right? The asking, supporting, and then encouraging. I love that framework for dealing with this topic, which can be a really tricky topic. And it's not only tricky because of maybe some awkwardness in the relationship or the dynamic between a mother and her daughter, but also we live in a world that is really socially complex and so socially focused on relationships. Girls from a young age start getting messages about what it means to be a girl and what it means to be in a relationship. I mean, crushes on kindergarten, preschool, weddings, right? Girls on magazines from a young age. Barbie dolls have historically, had an issue with, maybe being too skinny or unrealistic. These images about like how girls are perceived, especially in the romantic world, what that means in their relationships, is just so complex and impossible to avoid. And not only is it so present in our media, but it's present in the schools too. These ideas of slut shaming or maybe being a prude, right? Like these extreme ends of what sexuality means at this age and how teenagers talk about it, whether it's between girls and other girls, which I think a lot of people often associate with maybe meanness or being left out, being excluded. And also, how it functions between a girl and boys, right? If they're romantically or sexually attracted to boys, that dynamic between who's hooking up with who or who's dating who, and what does that mean for their power status within the school, and how might that power status change from a girl's perspective versus a boy's perspective. So it is so complex, and they're so emotionally attached to this idea of a relationship, which makes sense. That's something we carry with us through adulthood, right? That importance of being in a relationship is so culturally communicated. So how do we support girls in this really tricky world that they'll continue to have to navigate for most of their life?
She does explain, I think, in really 3 simple steps what our job is as they go through this. And quite truthfully, I think it doesn't just apply to adolescence. I think you can take this back to any stage, starting very early with your child, boy or girl, and continuing through adulthood. And the things that she outlines are, 1, letting her know that she has an inner compass and to listen to that. And she talks about they know what's right and wrong for them from a very early stage. And so our job is to keep reminding her that she has that internal compass. And we can do that by asking her questions. Like in general, when opportunities present, we don't want to sit down and we don't want to lecture her all the time about this stuff. But if you see the opportunity come up, and even in general terms about her friends or just society, ask her what she thinks about that. The more that we're asking her what she thinks, reminds her and instills in her that she has this inner voice, this inner compass, this inner wisdom that is there, because we're not there with her all the time when she's going to encounter this stuff. Most of the time we won't be there, unfortunately. So by reminding her that she's got this inner voice to listen to is super important. And then we encourage her to think about, what does she want and what does she not want? Everybody has different things that is right and wrong for them. And so to, again, like help her instill in herself, what are the things that are okay with me, for me, I should say, and what isn't okay for me. Mm-hmm. And then the third stage is expressing what she does and doesn't want to other people. So her romantic partners, other adults, other kids, peers, whatever. It's being free and supported and saying, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And in turn, listening and respecting those in her life when they say, this is okay with me, this is not okay with me. It's reciprocal, right? And I think if we can do those three things, we are just setting them up in such a positive way for so many arenas of life, at any stage of life, that it supports them without turning them off from our guidance. We're not lecturing all the time, but we're engaging her in a conversation. And I just think that's so smart and sets them up for success throughout life.
Absolutely. I think as parents, sometimes there's such a fear and such an anxiety about the children not developing maybe the values that we might hope that they hold, right? Obviously our values are unique to each one of us, right? And we hold great importance on our values, and we hope that our children have similar values that we do. And at the end of the day, they may or they may not. And I think that fear that they might hold a value that we might see as immoral or as dangerous is quite powerful in a parent, right? That fear is really driving. And I think that's why so many parents feel the need to maybe lecture or communicate their values so blatantly, right, to their children. And I think what the book talks about and what you're talking about is the best way to maybe instill those values that we hope our children latch onto is by asking questions, by exploring, by being supportive, by letting them know we're here for them, and exploring those issues with them, asking critical questions, exactly like you said, maybe bringing it up in natural conversations. I wonder, how she feels about this, or in a movie, I wonder, what's going on in that relationship, and just getting them to think about it in a very non-threatening way, because, the values from one generation to the next always change. And, one of the biggest ways that I think that the generations are changing right now is with the LGBTQ population. And that's such a big topic. I know in my own practice and in so many of our therapist practices here at Galvin Growth Group, LGBTQ issues often pop up because Generation Z is identifying this way in higher numbers than any generation before. Almost 16% of Gen Zers identify as LGBTQ, and about 3/4 of those who identify as bisexual. And I think that's a big shift from past generations, even past generations that might consider themselves pretty open and accepting of LGBTQ. They aren't maybe as familiar with the gender identity issues that are going on, or the high population of bisexual. And so I think a lot of parents maybe get confused about that and don't know how to support their children, and don't know maybe what questions to ask or how to respond when a child has questions or identifies this way.
And I think the bottom line, right, is still that message of being supportive, asking those questions, helping her think through all of these things that she's dealing with in this complex world, and also this complex stage of development. So I I think the message is so valuable, whether we apply it to the romantic world or anything else that they're going to be dealing with. And I think it really resonated with us as therapists in terms of what we try to do as we work with kids and parents in opening that dialogue. Communication is so important, and we want them to communicate with us. We can see in the research that they're more likely to open up to their peers first, but I think we as parents, would be so disappointed to think that our kids don't feel safe talking to us. And I think these 3 points that she brings up to us in terms of how to encourage and support this healthy dialogue with our kids is so important, and will serve us well as parents.
That support is just so key. Even if you don't understand, if you're not sure, and if you as a parent maybe need to reach out to another trusted friend or a trusted adult or your own therapist or someone that can listen to you and say, my daughter just came and told me she's having sex, or my daughter just came and told me she's bisexual, or she identifies as a man. How do I handle this, right? It's okay to take a step back and get that support yourself so you feel like you can support your daughter also, because that support is so key. And, no matter what happens at the end of the day, if she grows up, no matter where she ends up, your daughter's going to remember, that support. My mom was always there for me. My dad was always there for me, even when I wasn't sure what was going on. And so I agree that support at the end of the day is really a key underlying point in this chapter.
And we're here, as therapists, whether it be us at Galvin Growth Group or any other practice, it's good to think of our supports being available to parents as well as to kids. So even if the kid is the one who's struggling and we as the parent are struggling as a result of their challenges, therapists can help parents navigate through these stages too. So it's good to keep that in mind. Yeah, we sure thank you for joining us for the review of this chapter 6. And next week, we're going to prepare our final chapter, chapter 7, called Caring for Herself. So we look forward to joining with you next week. Read the chapter, send us questions, comments, like and share our videos, which are available on Facebook, YouTube, and on our website. And we look forward to meeting again with you next week.
Absolutely. We'll see you there. Bye.